Panthers look to win one more inside Amerant Bank Arena with 18 games left in the regular season before the Cats head to the West Coast for a long road trip after tonight's game. What's up, Florida Panthers Daily? I am Andrew Sheridan, back with you here on a Thursday. Yes, we've almost made it to yet another weekend, and it's been a fun week of hockey. March 12th here as we sit on this Thursday, where the Cats will take on the Columbus Blue Jackets for the second time in 4 games. So the Blue Jackets, then you had the Red Wings and Red Wings back to back, and now you get the Blue Jackets again. So only 2 opponents in the last 4 games for the Florida Panthers. A very unique part of the schedule, you could say. Of course, I mentioned it, the Panthers will get ready to go on a West Coast trip after tonight's game. They will start that in Seattle on Sunday. We'll break that all down for you right here on Florida Panthers Daily and get you ready for everything the rest of the way. Make sure, if you're just joined us for the first time, that subscribe button below. My social medias are at AJ Sheridan Radio, talking everything South Florida sports and, of course, Florida Panthers on those social medias. And that subscribe button below does us a lot of good. Today's video might be a little shorter than it has been in the past, not feeling 100%, but you know, we go every single day, Monday through Friday, right here on Florida Panthers Daily, giving you the latest and greatest about the Florida Panthers. Before we preview tonight's game with the Blue Jackets, the second one in not 4 days, in 4 games for the Florida Panthers, I want to talk just a little bit more about Tuesday night's win for the Florida Panthers. I don't think I talked about it enough yesterday because I was making so many comparisons to Bam Adebayo. I was so wrapped up in what I had just watched with the Miami Heat that I wasn't wrapped up enough in what I just watched for the Florida Panthers. Do you understand how big of a loss, if you're a Detroit Red Wings fan, that is? You were winning the game with 90 seconds left and you don't even get a point. Okay, the Panthers might not make the playoffs this year. The Panthers aren't going to defend their Stanley Cup Finals yet again. But that gives you the chance to play spoiler. Yes, okay, let's not win too many games now. Let's keep that top 10 pick that we've talked about here on Florida Panthers Daily, part of the fan arch community. But playing spoiler's fun, especially when it's to other teams in the East. Like this West Coast road trip, okay, maybe that one doesn't. Maybe that's the trip that doesn't go the Panthers' way, as Brad Marchand now looks like he'll be out for an extended period of time. We'll get to that later on in today's show. But that game last night, Carter Verhaeghe, 2 huge snipes. That's really the only way you can say it. Like, you just, Nico Mikula said it after the game. We don't want to lose. That's what we've built here. Every day is a chance to get better. And Carter Verhaeghe showed that yesterday, scoring 2 goals in the final 90 seconds. And it made putting your head on the pillow before you go to sleep a little bit easier if you are a Florida Panthers fan. That was something special. And I just felt like I didn't give it enough attention yesterday. But you only get, again, only 18 games left in this season, so you really got to take in the time and enjoy. Told you I'm not feeling too good, so I'm trying to push through, but you got to enjoy every win that you can get if you are a fan, because I'm never in the mindset of rooting against my team. I want my team to lose. Okay, you can tank, but I'm not going to sit there and actively root for my team to lose. If I'm sitting there watching a game, if I'm going to a game, I'm going to root for my team to score more points, goals, whatever it is, than the other team. And the most exciting game that I've watched this year was a game I was at versus the Carolina Hurricanes back in December. The Panthers came back late, so I can only imagine how buzzing the arena was last night inside Amerant Bank Arena. It was the first time that I've watched a Panthers game and felt like, whoa, the energy's back in that place. And probably over a month since before the Olympics, maybe the first game back to the Olympics when hockey buzz was all over the place. But as a fan, I'm calling all Florida Panthers fans, yes, we can be okay and not upset if the Panthers lose and end up with a top 10 pick. But when we're watching the games, if you're going to take the time to watch it or go to a game, let's not root against the Florida Panthers, because what we saw last night was special, and we should be able to soak moments like that in. Okay, now we'll focus on tonight's game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. It is the last game before the West Coast trip. 18 games remaining for the Florida Panthers, who took on this Blue Jackets team not too long ago, just a few nights ago. What was the exact date of it? I don't remember the exact date, but it was March 6th or March 5th that these teams played. So yeah, just a few days ago in a game where the Panthers fell behind early. The shots were even. It was 28 apiece in that game just a few days ago. The physicality was there from both teams. 19-16, only 3 hits separating. Faceoffs were even. Penalty minutes were even. It was a very even game, but it was the goaltending of the Florida Panthers that ultimately cost him this one. Falling behind 3-0 early, and then it's like, okay, you get it to 3-1. Sam Bennett gets it to 3-2, and then the empty net happened. And we were not going to talk about the refs again. We already talked about it the night that those happened. But Jet Graves, he's the name to watch again for the Columbus Blue Jackets. In between the pipes, their goaltender, he was the third star with 26 saves the last time that these two teams met. And I think the Panthers are going to have a tough test ahead of them tonight. I mean, the Panthers are going to do what they do. They get a lot of shots connecting on. This is the problem. They're only connecting on 10% of their shots this year. That puts the Panthers at 27th in the league. Sure, we're blocking a lot of shots in front of our goaltender, but we got to connect on our shots to make this a challenging night for Jet if the Panthers do want to get some revenge on the Blue Jackets and make it 3 straight wins. Well, what if the Cats get 3 straight wins? Do you believe? Do you start to believe just a little bit? Maybe. Just maybe, because in the last 10 games for the Panthers, they have claimed 70% of the possible points. No ties, but they are 4-6 in the last 10. So I don't expect that it is enough, even if the Panthers do win 3 in a row. Panthers, again, ranked 25th in total goals against, allowing over 3 per game. So I think tonight's matchup, will come down to the goaltending. The Panthers do block around 12 shots a game and average 25 hits a game. So this game will be physical. The Panthers, they're going to put their body on the line because you've kind of just seen that over the past few weeks. The team's not quitting. The team's not going to give up, no matter how injury-plagued they are. And speaking of injuries, yesterday was a unique day at practice. I'll get into my prediction a little bit more when we get into our best bet segment in just a little bit. But I want to focus on some of the injuries because there were a lot of quotes from practice yesterday. There was a lot of news surrounding practice yesterday. Again, we break everything down Monday through Friday right here on Florida Panthers Daily, part of the Fan Arch community. Alexander Barkov was back at practice again in the yellow non-contact jersey. Paul Maurice said after practice he's been off 6 months and his timing is incredible. Talking about his defense ability, he said, I think we can get him to play forward until he's about 39, and then we could bring him to defense, and he might have another 6 years in him. That's my goal, was the jokes Paul Maurice was making after practice. He was actually playing defense at practice yesterday in some drills, and Paul Maurice also joked about maybe him teaming up with Seth Jones would be an all-time defensive pair, and so he was making jokes of it. It's good to see Alexander Barkov back at practice with the Florida Panthers. Speaking of Seth Jones, it looks like it'll be about another week to 10 days for him. Of course, he got hurt in that Winter Classic game at Marlins Park against the New York Rangers. Maurice said when the X-rays clear and the strength is there, Seth Jones will be back. But in a sad note, in a bad note, the Rat, Brad Marchand, he looked to get info back later on yesterday after practice, so we don't know. But we will know where he is heading and where the future of his season is heading later on in the week, according to Paul Maurice. Sam Reinhart, who missed 2 days ago's game against the Detroit Red Wings, was back on the ice for practice. You know who wasn't? Carter Verhaeghe. So some people are posting memes out there. I think it was just a Veterans Day off. I didn't see anything more than that for Carter Verhaeghe. But people are saying, hey, Panthers are trying to lose. You scored 2 goals in 90 seconds to give you a win. You're not going to practice. We're going to make sure we get this tank right. But no, I don't believe it was anything like that. The lines, also Uvis Belinkas was not on the ice for the Florida Panthers. So maybe a few things to note there. But Seth Jones looks to be back, and maybe within 10 days, I would say 10 days, Seth Jones will be back after getting injured in the Winter Classic. And I do want to hit not quite an injury update, but maybe a little last trade deadline rumor update was AJ Greer. I mentioned him a lot here on Florida Panthers Daily leading up to the trade deadline as maybe a name to watch if you are a Panther fan. If you do like AJ Greer, the depth he's provided for the Florida Panthers this year. He's got my name, of course. I like him, but sources were saying yesterday that he had already cleaned out his locker and said goodbye to his teammates, thinking that he might just probably get moved at this trade deadline. Now, with him not getting moved, Sergei Bobrovsky not getting moved, just like Bobrovsky, he is looking for a long-term deal, probably a longer-term deal than Sergei is, and he would like to remain in Florida. So there was a lot to catch you up on. Brad Marchand, if I had to guess, the way it sounded from practice yesterday, won't be back this year, but we will find out come the end of the week. Alexander Barkov skating, Seth Jones about 10 days. Sam Reinhart, who missed last night's game or 2 nights ago's game, was back on the ice yesterday at practice and should be good to go for tonight. Speaking of tonight, let's find some green. I want to look at some of the trends between these two teams. I kind of lean the over in this one. I talked about the goaltenders in these two games, but you know what? Now that I'm sitting here, I kind of like the over. But I also kind of like the Blue Jackets. I talked to can the Panthers really stay hot? So I don't know exactly what my pick will be. I do. I'm just not going to tell you yet. But this season, the Blue Jackets, underdogs 38 times. They've only won 36% of those games. Panthers are 18-26 when favored on the money line this season. So it should be a fun one. And I do think with Sam Reinhart being back that I might just have to play that over. And you know what? I'll do it. I'll play the over as my pick of the day here on Florida Panthers Daily. Keep an eye on Jet. He's the 12th best save percentage goalie in the league, but I think the Panthers found something on him late the last game just a few days ago, and they will carry that in to this one and light the lamp enough to cash the over. Again, I'm not feeling the best, so I'm not going the longest, but we will be back tomorrow to break everything down on a Friday, hopefully talking about a Florida Panthers win and previewing the weekend of hockey where the Panthers will head out west. That subscribe button below if you enjoyed it. I'm pushing through for you here. If you can just go ahead and hit that little red button. Until tomorrow, let's go Cats.